Hello, friends. And before we get to this episode of the 360 Experience, I have something very exciting that I want to share with you. If you haven't heard, I've been working on a project for over a year now, and it is now live. And it is my goal that this project will change the mortgage industry forever, changing the way that you learn, grow, and find success as a mortgage professional. It's a learning platform that includes a vast array of educational material, support documents, and implementation tools. We're covering business planning, sales, marketing, culture, systems of customer service, time management, personal development. It is all encompassing, and it is backed by the finest and most giving faculty of teachers that this industry has ever assembled. People who you're familiar with if you've been listening to my show. But it's more than that. It's about community. It's about like-minded mortgage professionals helping each other, making this a better industry. Folks, welcome to the Loan Atlas, and it is now available for you to check out and to consider becoming a member, and we sure hope you do, because we would love to guide you on this journey of achieving higher levels of success in all aspects of your life. Go to the link in the show notes below, click on the link, and find out more. And now, for the next episode of the 360 Experience podcast. Well, hello, friends, and welcome once again to another episode of the 360 Experience podcast with my special guest today, Sosi Avila. I've known Sosi now for about 2.5 years. He is a terrific young man and somebody who has had great success in just 6 years of being in the mortgage business. In today's episode, we're going to talk about a variety of topics that I think are very noteworthy. Number one, Sosi has recently made a transition from being a mortgage banker to a mortgage broker, and we're going to unpack the differences, which I think will be interesting for you to hear. Sosi is a great creator of content. Some of his Instagram reels have over 500,000 views, believe it or not. He has 20,000 followers, and we're going to talk about how he goes about creating content and what gets engagement on social media. We're also going to talk about what he's doing right now to get into Realtors databases and to be able to present to them, and the type of content he's presenting and why it's been so effective. We're going to talk about confidence, how his confidence was impacted by the downturn in the market and the increase in interest rates, and what he did to make his way through those choppy waters, not having ever been through a market like that before, of course, due to his youth in the industry, and some of the ways that he had to deal with the self-deprecating thoughts that he was having about himself during those tough times, and how he's really focused on his knowledge of product and how to present to clients to use it as a strategic advantage. So this will be chock full of great information. Get ready to take some notes. Now, before we get to this conversation with Sosi, I want to remind you, please, to subscribe to the show if you haven't. It's really, really important to us to have subscribers. If you like the episode, give us a like. If you have comments, please put them into YouTube and forward this on to anybody that you think would benefit from it. As always, this episode of the 360 Experience is sponsored by the Loan Atlas. And if you've not checked out the Loan Atlas yet, I strongly encourage you to do so. I'm super excited about what we're creating there to help mortgage professionals go to the next level. And without further ado, my conversation with my friend, Sosi Avila. What is up, young man?
What's up, my friend?
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Glad you and Allison. Yeah, I'm glad you and Allison had a great time in Paris. First time going to that romantic city. I bet that was super fun for you guys.
That was a blast. Absolute blast. She, with the tough year, she and I both needed that like little refresh. So I'm really grateful because actually you're the reason I went, man. Like you taught me the tricks on the credit card points, and that came in clutch. So super grateful.
Yeah, before people get the wrong idea, tricks being legal tricks, nothing shady. Just the proper utilization of the American Express membership rewards program can get you some sweet travel. I'm glad that you were able to leverage that. That's awesome.
Yeah, me too. It was a huge blessing.
So let's just give everybody a little bit of a background. You know, you, how old are you, first of all? 31 years old?
I am 34. think
Oh shit.
34. Yeah,
Man, you're
I
getting
know.
old.
I crept
My
up on you. I'm trying
my
to catch
God.
up, bro. You just keep going so fast.
Yeah, you are gaining on me for sure. So you've been in the business for how long? And tell us, what your best year was, just to give us a little bit of a background. Then we're going to just dive hard into teaching.
Yeah, let's do it. So, 6 years. Best year was almost about 100 million. That's 94 mil. And that was done on year four.
He's been in the business 6 years, and he's already at $100 million year. I mean, it's no secret as to why. I mean, you're a tremendous teacher. I told you this on the Leadership 360 Zoom call the other day that it's definitely your gift, your ability to
Mm,
present, your ability to break down numbers and speak in front of agents and all those types of things. I want to start with what you've learned. So I'm going to take the listener back here. About 2.5 years ago, we're sitting in the backyard at my house in Southern California, and the market was starting to turn. And you and Eric Bible were a little bit worried, and you started asking me some
yeah,
really good questions. And over the course of that period of time since then, um, we've had, I say 2.5 years ago. I think I'm wrong there. It's a year and a half ago, almost 2 years
I think
ago
it's a
it
year and a
was.
half.
Okay, so it was like
Yeah,
spring of 2022, and we all know what happened basically starting at about then and then going forward. And it's been a rough road for you. It's been humbling, I believe, like it has been for
yeah.
so many. And yet at the same time, you're so devoted and a student of your craft. I'd love for you to share with the listeners, having never been through a market like the one that we are hopefully exiting out of here real soon, because I think we are. What have you learned, and what have you gained in the way of wisdom at your young age, having gone through what you've gone through?
Yeah, going back to that backyard experience, right? I'll say the first thing has been that one of the secrets of quote unquote my success, my growth, whether it's been in the previous occupations and vocations I had or the current career I established, it's always been this principle that I got from Bible college. I've grew up in a fundamentalist Christian environment, and I remember when I first went to Bible college, there was this concept that was an argument: should you use biblical commentaries or not? Was the whole debate, and so I was a little perplexed on it. And so I remember I went to one of my professors, and my professor said, "Look, this is the way I view it. If your goal is to try to see this greatest depths of God or whatever somebody would interpret, right? The goal of a commentary is to stand on the feet of somebody else who already, or stand on the shoulders of somebody who already tried to do that. And by standing on their shoulders, you're peeking a little further than they did, right? Into that same subject matter, i.e., in this example, it's God. And so I've taken that principle really throughout every aspect of my life. And with you guys in the backyard, it was very important to me to figure out from you, hey, I've never done this before. I'm about to experience this. I'm scared out of my freaking mind. Um, what the heck did you guys learn? And how do I stand on your wisdom to try to learn those lessons a little deeper and hopefully a little further so I can pass it on to the next guy? So, my first principle is always in the midst of any new change, any new experience, never lean on just what you'll be able to pioneer because there's just nothing new, right? And I hope we get into that discussion because the more I've analyzed your business, Tim, the more I go, holy crap, a lot of what I'm doing is modernized versions of what you did. And so I love learning from you. I love being able to see what you've established. And I love learning that lesson that, hey, I'm going into a new world that I've never experienced, but my buddies here had. So let me learn from them as much as I can and grow. Um, because the other thing that it taught me was you and Dave Gallegos, right? My two older buddies. I remember 6 months before Dave Gallegos was telling me, he goes, man, the market can just shift. What you need to do is save and you need to have like X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars and all this stuff. In my mind, I was like, man, this guy's like way out of it. Like, come on. Nothing can change so drastically that it goes from like feast to famine with like overnight switches. And so I just thought, okay, cool. Like it's going to be okay to just kind of do what I'm doing and then pivot as time allows, and then it'll trickle out. And then you just prepare ahead of time because no one's stupid enough to see the writing on the wall and not make changes quickly enough. And so when it all happened, to answer your question fully, what I learned was the old guys were right this industry can change literally in a moment's notice. And two, lean on your older buddies, ask them what they did, and then use that as a foundational wisdom for how you're going to operate from there. Because what you guys told me that day, what you told me about the hustle, what you told me about blocking and tackling, what you told me about going back to the basics, letting go of the ego and trying to do the sexy roles of just team lead and coming back to how do you originate? How do you have more conversations? How do you create more leads? That was what I leaned into because of the guidance and wisdom I got from you guys. And that's what made me have a really good year, in a challenging market. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. No, we're going to continue down this road a little bit here because you always give me shit about being such an old guy, which is, I know that it's in fun, but I know that there's some seriousness to it as well because you like to give me shit.
A lot of endearment.
Yes. I take it. I take it as a compliment. But it's interesting. We go through these phases in life. Like if you think, I mean, you're a father, so prior to having, children, you heard from people that had, come before you, whose shoulders you could, rest upon and look down the road a little bit further. As you mentioned, you heard all these cliches, like get your sleep now, and you're never going to love somebody more than you love your kid, and your life's going to change forever. Your routine's going to get destroyed, blah, blah, blah. And when we're hearing those things, we kind of brush them off as, oh yeah, well, that's their experience. My experience will be different. And life has stages to it, and you can't possibly know what that stage that you're about to enter into is really about until you go through it. Like I look at my mom right now, she's 81 years old, God bless her. And I'm seeing her really slow down, and I'm seeing her become forgetful, and I'm seeing her not be able to walk downstairs very well. And I think about it a lot. I'm like, that's going to be me. Hopefully, God willing, that will be me in, 25 years. And I don't know what it's like to not be able to move and breathe and sleep as fluidly as I do right now. And I think that that's such an important lesson to learn in life, bro, and in business, right? So there's no way, I told you this, if you remember, in the backyard that day, I told all you folks that were, younger in the business like you in Bible, I said, this will make you a better loan officer. This is the kind of a market that either cripples people and has them exiting from the industry, or this makes someone a real loan originator. Because when you can go through the market like we've just gone through and come out of it on the other end, you're twice the originator that you were before because of your ability to focus, your ability to persevere, because of the things that you learn. And I'm glad that you brought up the ego part. I think that's really important because, you had a hockey stick early career, like first 4 years in the business. I mean, you're just like on a continual ascent to superstardom, but you had never gone through the other market that's always there in every cycle. So now you've been through it. What are a few things specifically that you've implemented in the last, say, 18 months that have been successful for you, that have resulted in you either building more relationships or getting more loans?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So a few things. The first is morning routine, right? And it's what so many people talk about. And until you experience it for yourself, there's really no way to truly describe how impactful it could be. And so my morning routine continued to just develop from just disciplines of set aside time. I was listening to one of the other trainings you did. And I remember, I think it was Josh Metal talking through Dr. Joe Dispenza's 98% on the atom is about energy and 2% is about matter, if I'm quoting that correctly.
It's
and
about
so even just looking back at my year,
it's 99.5% is energy and only 0.5% is matter. Keep going. Yeah. It's like almost none of it's matter. Keep going.
Yeah. This year, as I look back, I go, I started off focusing on energy a slight more. And as the year progressed, I see my morning routine has evolved, where by the end of the year, it was focused on energy a lot more. And even things that are kind of not the typical pieces, right? Like one of the things I love starting my mornings off of is I have a group of the L360 guys that we wake up at 5:30 every morning. We turn on the camera, not to talk, not to chit chat, not to hang out, But to go, you awake, you awake, you awake. What are you working on this morning? And we spent about an hour and 15 minutes dedicated to just getting work done. For me, that's been a big relief because now I'm emptying myself of all the stress that I probably slept with. I'm getting all my crap done. And I go, cool, I'm going to go focus on the other things because I've released that aspect. I'm going to go do my meditations, my readings, my journaling, my workouts. And I just have the flexibility there. And so for me personally, with where I'm at in this stage of life, it's been very fulfilling to now be in a place where I dedicate morning shift, enjoy routine, and then get back to the grind right after. It's been really sweet.
Yeah. Let's talk about this a little more. This is a really important point that you're making that I really want the listener to get their head around. So what I'm hearing you say is that you're starting your day off at 5:15 in the morning, and you have a specific business related activity that you've deemed to be important and that you want to
Yeah.
knock off first thing. And this is
Yep.
I did a presentation, you weren't in Park City in the fall, but I did a presentation on this. And this was one of the tips in the presentation was, now it wasn't
Mm.
before your morning routine, although I think this is a brilliant idea on your part, which is the night before, select one thing that will
Mm.
move the needle for you in your business. What is that? It could be, I'm going to call 5 past clients. Now you're not going to call them at 5 in the morning, okay, unless they're on a different time zone. But I'm going to, create scripts for my, social media marketing reels. I'm going to really organize my day and plan it out and work on, a marketing document to CPAs because it's tax season,
Mm.
whatever it is. You can come up with a whole long list of things. The point is before you turn the outside world on and let it in to your life and let it attack and consume your energy, you're going to get one really important thing done to start your day. So if nothing else, you can look back on that day and go, this day was successful because I got that done. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
really important. And then I want to just add that I love the fact that you're doing it with accountability, with partners, with people that you formed a group with. So huge
Yeah.
takeaway there. Huge takeaway. Anything else that you've done? You talked about your morning routine. What have you implemented in the last, say, year or so that has been successful for you?
Diversity of lead sources and diversity of presentations.
Yeah,
Right.
talk about that.
So I'll dive into the lead sources first. One of the inner hurdles that I had, right? One of the inner hurdles that I had of going into other types of products was an insecurity because, I grew up really quick in the mortgage industry. I literally went from being a pastor to doing marketing for 6 months, having nothing to do with the loan, but just focused on creating agent relationships between loan officers. I remember this. Can I say colorful words here, Tim?
I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. I do sometimes. Go ahead.
Dude, I remember this douchebag loan officer that came in, right? He's like 5'4", Napoleon complex. And like he just wanted to like show off everything. And he started talking to me about like how his BMW broke down and you know how BMWs are. And he went into all those pieces. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like, dude, I drive a Prius, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no social radar here at all. And so, that being the case, I remember specifically with him, I thought to myself, I'm working so hard to connect realtors with this guy, and I don't know what the heck he's doing afterwards. And so, it pushed me to this place where I looked at it and I said, I got to dive in.
Now
And so, I
this
literally
guy,
went,
sorry, this guy is a loan originator and you were working hard to tee him up with realtor relationships. That's what you're saying?
exactly.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So working hard to get him with realtor relationships, right? Doing all that stuff. And when I saw that what his value was, right, it just pushed me to this place where I was like, okay, I should do it. But context for that, and the reason I say this story is to show I literally did not do one loan. I didn't even have a freaking car loan till like 2 months before I spoke with the guy. So to then go straight into mortgage from 0 to 60, I went straight into retail. I saw him do that. I said, screw it. If he could do it, I could do it. I got my license 30 days later. I went to the branch manager. I said, will you hire me as an independent loan officer? He goes, you're going to be self-sourced. I was like, I don't know what that means, but yeah, sure. And then I just started calling and I started generating leads. And after I generated leads, I'd like have a discovery call. And then I'd go to my mentor and I'd be like, so this is what they said. He'd be like, did you ask this? I'm like, no. Give me a second. And I just went back and forth like an idiot. Right. And so in that turn time, like I literally had to learn the industry so stinking fast that I had this insecurity. Because with the mentorships that I had, I never had an institution, as you've shared, that taught me soup to nuts how to actually be a loan officer. I just learned how to generate business.
Mhm.
And in the environments I was with, I started leaning on ops people to be my underwriters and my pre-approvers and all these things that even in the first part of my career, I never really calculated income. And so in this year of seeing everything shift, all of a sudden I was in this position where I was like, if I diversify types of loans, right? And I diversify into the non-QM, if I diversify into other type of products, more jumbo, all this stuff. Here was a question that I'd asked myself, Tim, which I actually didn't even realize I was asking myself. I'd asked myself, do I believe I'm smart enough to actually learn this on the go and serve these clients well? And so I had to push myself to learn how to do loan types that I was super insecure to do. And I'm very grateful I did it because they're not that complex. For one, it was an inner hurdle that I just had to get over because I already knew how to do loans. Um, and it created a really great avenue for me where I've done a really good amount of non-QM business now. I've been able to tackle any type of loan without fear. And that's drawn more business to me just because my confidence of knowing I can get this stuff handled. So that's the first diversification to talk through.
Let me comment because you're bringing up another phenomenal point here that I want everybody to really understand, and I'm going to deepen it. So, most people start in this business when it's good. I mean, that's why you got into it, right? I mean, there are people out there who got into the business in, '08 or something like that, but not that many. Most people got into the business in '05 when it was booming, or 2021 when it was booming, or the good years in the teens of 2015, 16, 17, et cetera. But there's usually fruitfulness to the business when you get in. The
Yeah.
biggest problem that can happen is it can come too easy.
Yeah.
Because when it comes too easy, you get a false sense of security that, wow, this is just like the easiest job in the world. Like, I mean, I just sell a 30 and a 15-year fixed, and maybe an occasional 7-1 arm if that's available in the marketplace and it makes some sense. And there's loans, leads that are plentiful, et cetera. When the market turns is when you need to become a real student of your craft. And this is what I refer to as essential knowledge. And you go back to the loan toolbox days, this was the foundational level of the pyramid of a complete loan officer. And now with Loan Atlas, it is the foundational level of the ascent to the peak of the mountain. And why is it the foundational level? Well, it's the foundational level for a lot of reasons. Number one, if you know product, if you understand the market, if you know how to get tough loans done, it's like the key that unlocks the door to a relationship in many cases. My career is checkered with stories about significant relationships that would have never happened if I didn't know how to do a tough loan, if I didn't know how to qualify a tough income structure, if I didn't know how to get someone's credit score approved, if I didn't know a product that very few people knew. And because I was able to get that loan done, boom, whole new relationship that spawns tons of deals in the future. But it's deeper than that, bro. And here's why. Because at the end of the day, the product is you. And you're hitting on something so incredibly important here, right? So you were dealing with some second guessing internally and then some insecurities, right? So the best salespeople are the people that have the most confidence and certainty in their product. In this business, that means the best loan originators are the ones who have the most confidence and certainty in themselves. But deep down inside, you know when you don't know shit. You know if you're not really that good. And that's where call reluctance comes from. So early in your career, when you're like, man, I don't know, like I only really know a couple of products. I don't have a lot of diversity in lenders. And I want to get into the fact that you're a broker now and talk to you a little bit about that, because that actually opens up some doors to other products, which I think is super important to talk about. So we'll go there in a second.
It's been pretty fun.
But once you start to become a master of the diversity of the product at your disposal and you know how to get tough loans done, all of a sudden you have swagger, man. Like you're like, yeah, I mean, give me anything you got. I'll get it done. That's a totally different product that you're selling in you Now you're selling
Yeah.
something that you really believe in. You take a guy like Mike Trejo, okay, who's also a broker. And if you guys haven't connected, you guys should be talking. I mean, Mike Trejo blows my mind as
He's
to how
great.
knowledgeable he is about product, bro. He's so
Mm.
knowledgeable. So, um, what you've made this transition from being a mortgage banker to being a mortgage
Can
broker.
I
You're
dovetail
with,
something there for you real quick, Tim?
yeah.
Yeah. So I really love that you're pointing that out, right? Because I believe you're 1,000% correct. The knowledge of the product is going to be so impactful. I'm very grateful for me that I had a good amount of knowledge of the product or most of the products, but I know what I spent my time as a student because I'm going to be a student no matter what, right? And so in the first part of my career, yeah, I wasn't a student of every single product, but what I became a student of was financial implications, call it financial planning through real estate finance, right? Like that's what I was 100% focused on. And so because I was 100% focused on that, somebody who can come in and tout like, hey, I know about the product, no one underwrites loans better than me. I've never been intimidated by that guy because I'm like, great, I'll pay somebody to underwrite it for me, and then I'll out advise the hell out of you because I know what is step 2, 3, and 4 for this person. You're just trying to help them step 1. And so it's been a really neat experience for me this year to now be able to have the confidence on both ends of that foundational table, right? Like not only do I know I can out advise, but I also know I can definitely out learn or out guide in the first initial step now too, especially with the new suite of services and different resources that I have. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I couldn't help but throw that out there.
No, it goes to. I know that you recently listened to the episode with Dave Gallegos, okay, and Dave and
Oh,
I, and
dude.
yeah, it was a great episode. He was wonderful, and one of the things, that Dave and I talked about was this exact subject matter. I mean, if you were paid, if you were hired, let's take a step back for a second on this. Like, this is what makes this job really strange is that if I hired you out of the gate and I said, hey, I'm paying you per hour, and in order for you to keep this job, one of the things that you need to do is study underwriting guidelines, understand how to read tax returns, know the credit scoring model, and know a vast array of product offering, you would do it to keep your job.
Yeah.
And a year from now
Yep.
or 6 months from now, you would be extremely knowledgeable. And that knowledge would lead to you having confidence in yourself. But the problem is, again, most originators get into the business and their sole focus needs to be trying to get deals in the door. They focus on sales,
Yep.
but they don't focus on knowledge. And I think that that's a really beautiful
Yeah.
gift that the last year and a half has given you, is that it's forced you to go back to the basics. And that's why I say you're a way better loan originator now than you were a year and a half ago because of
Agreed.
this ability to know various products and how to structure deals. So what's the transition been like for you to become a broker? I'm curious how it's been. We haven't had a chance to talk very much about this.
Yeah. I mean, my personal transition was just like crazy. Because I came to a point in my career where I ended up transitioning over to be a partner at a brokerage, and in that new brokerage that I went to go be a partner at, we for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons was our growth and our national reach because of what we do from a lead gen standpoint on a social media direct to consumer. We outgrew our shoes too fast and we needed to make a shift. And so not only did I transfer from retail to broker, but literally with about 45 days later, we transferred from individual broker to become a DBA of the number 5th largest brokerage in the country and the number 1 for Rocket Mortgage as a partner. And so we literally, it was 2 transitions within the last 90 days. So it's been a journey with some hurdles and a lot of challenges. But I'm like going to sleep tired with a smile. And I'm waking up with a lot on my plate with joy. And I'm creating and I'm innovating. And with this partnership that we've created, we're in charge of trying to make sure that we lead a lot of what the new modern process is going to be like. So the client experience that my pastoral heart has always carried with me is continuing to come here. The fact that my first year in the industry, I remember listening to a mortgage coach video with this guy named Tim Braheem, who I'd never heard of in my life. And he kept talking about some perfect loan thing. And he talked about how, like, at the loan approval, he sent cookies and all this stuff. And I remember I was so attracted to it, Tim, I was like, this is what I need to do. So all of a sudden I started building that out. And then when I met Ryan Grant like a year and a half later, I was like, oh, you did what I'm trying to do. You're like 3 years ahead. Why would we not join forces? Right. And so it's been really neat to see these stages of life where this desire to give the client an experience that's going to be monumental in the moment, but also be pivotal for their future has been crucial. And so coming here, I'm in this position where I get to just play. I get to help create systems and oversee all these other components and ensure that the client experience is going well and be able to provide a sales team that gets trained from a holistic perspective of giving advice to a client so they don't get ripped off across the country. Yeah, I can go on, so I better stop because I'll just keep talking for 5 minutes. But if you can't see
Well,
the excitement,
I'm stoked that you're excited, and your answer is focused on your ability to have some freedom to create and have a little bit of a blank canvas. I'd like you to answer the
yeah,
question now from a little different perspective, which is let's put ourselves in the shoes of those that are listening to this conversation. And
yeah,
some are brokers and some are bankers. And there's always this um, assumption of what being the other is like, but you actually can speak from firsthand
yeah.
experience. So now, having become a broker from being a banker, if an originator said to you, hey, what do you like about being a broker and what do you miss about being a banker? What would your answer be?
I like the I like the fact that the cost of manufacturing can be so much lower on the broker side. Therefore, being able to enable you to give, savings and even more profitability to you as the spearhead loan officer. Um, I like the fact that you just have such flexibility with products and you don't have to be held into one bank's kind of guidance or box because every bank has some type of restriction, whether it's they don't let you float down more than if it's not at least a quarter, or they don't let you do XYZ, right? There's always some type of restriction. And so I like all those components of flexibility from the production side. And what you probably heard a lot too is just the excitement from being at this leadership level. So
Mhm.
it's not fair to say that's equated to being a broker, right? That's just
Correct.
equated to being at the level of leadership that I'm at here.
Yes.
But the broker piece, those parts I'm very excited about. What I miss is having an aspect where when you do need something rushed, like super, super crazy, even though you can do it on the broker side and I've experienced it already, it's just easier to do when everything's in house and the underwriters are part of the payroll, right? Like there's always a difference there. It's a difference between calling in a favor and trying to streamline a process. That's the thing I miss. Aside from just people, right? Like I think in every season of life we make friendships and you miss those. But as far as just the infrastructure for the listener of broker and retail banker, those would be the biggest pieces. We're in a very unique situation because we have many core lines as well. So as far as margins and differences outside of just a regular broker agreement, we kind of have best of both worlds. So I don't miss that on the pricing piece because I feel satisfied there. But let me know if that answers your question.
Well, hello, friends, and I hope that you're enjoying this episode of the 360 Experience podcast. To listen to the remainder of this episode, please visit us at the Loan Atlas, where you will also find the most comprehensive resource for mortgage professionals to build their practice, backed by the greatest faculty that's ever been assembled in the mortgage industry. Check us out at the link below or go to theloanatlas.com. Look forward to having you as a guest on our next episode of the 360 Experience podcast.